This is my myofascial lines presentation. There's 4 lines we're going to be going over. The first one I'm going to talk about is the superficial back line. So the superficial back line is located at the posterior side of the body, and it's actually 2 pieces. So the first piece is from the bottom of your foot all the way up to the knee. The second piece is from your knee all the way up to the top of your head, or it connects at your brow. So when your body though is in standing fully erect in extension, it's one continuous piece of myofascia. The postural functions of this superficial back line is pretty much just to support you in your posture. So just standing upright, and it doesn't allow you to go in forward flexion. It's just maintaining your upright posture, and it's made of mostly just slow muscle switch fibers because you're standing all day, and it's a postural muscle, so it has to be working and have endurance to keep you upright. The movement function of the superficial back line is just to keep you from rolling over into flexion, but also extension. So if I were to go into hyperextension in a back exercise or anything like that, that would be working your superficial back line. So any kind of extension. So an exercise to strengthen your superficial back line would be a Superman. So like I said before, its main purpose is for your body just to go into extension. So here, flexing your glutes, your back and everything. An exercise to stretch your superficial back line, the one that I find is the deepest and most effective is a plow pose, I believe it's called. It's a yoga pose. And it looks like this. So you go all the way over, feet touching the back, and you can feel it stretch all the way up down my hamstrings, lower back, neck, everything. The second myofascial line I'll be going over is the superficial front line. So the superficial front line is located at the anterior portion of your body, and it runs from the top of the foot all the way up to both sides of the skull. Like the superficial back line, it's dissected into 2 pieces. So the first piece being from the top of the foot all the way up to the pelvis, and then from the pelvis all the way up to both sides of the skull. When you are not in hip flexion, so when your hip is in extension and you're fully upright, like superficial back line as well, it's one continuous piece of myofascia. The postural function of the superficial front line is to simply work with unison of the superficial back line and keeping you upright in a good posture. The movement function of the superficial front line is to create flexion of the trunk, flexion at the hip, extension of the knee, and dorsiflexion of the foot. And unlike the superficial back line, that is comprised of mostly slow twitch muscle fibers, the superficial front line is comprised of fast twitch muscle fibers. And I kind of wondered what it was, and looking around, I came upon the startle reflex. And the startle reflex, is when, we can all relate to this, if someone, say, were pretending to punch you in the stomach or something like that, you would flinch up really quick, or flinch. It's because as humans, we're walking on 2 legs, all our vital organs are located in the anterior portion of our body, so we have to be able to protect that. So an exercise to strengthen the superficial front line is to go into a hollow body position that lots of gymnasts do. It looks something like this. So make sure your back's round and no space under here. Extend your legs. Hands up by your ears. And just holding this, I can feel it. My hip flexors are on, glutes are on, abs, everything. And if you want to stretch superficial front line, there's a bow pose, I believe it's called. It's a yoga pose, and it looks like this. So, grabbing both legs, looking up, and feeling a nice stretch in the front portion of your body, loosening everything up. The third myofascial line I'll be going over is the lateral line. The lateral line connects on both sides of your body, and it runs on your right and left side. The postural function of the lateral line is to balance out the superficial back line and the superficial front line. And it also helps with bilateral balance of your right and left sides, keeping everything in balance. The movement function of the lateral line is to create lateral flexion of the trunk, abduction at the hip, and eversion of the foot. An exercise to strengthen your lateral line would be to create lateral flexion and extension at the trunk with a dumbbell. So it looks something like this. And to stretch your lateral line will be a classic just side bend. So you're going to stretch all the way through your lateral. The fourth and final myofascial line we're going over is the spiral line. The spiral line loops around your entire body, so it would start your skull, it connects at the skull, runs down your upper back, crosses your rib cage, makes an X, connects at your navel, and then joins back up at the hips. The postural function of the spiral line is to loop around the body in a double helix, and it also maintains equilibrium and balance throughout all planes of motion. So, planes of movement, the front, so we the frontal plane, the sagittal plane, transverse plane. The movement function of the spiral line is to create rotation along the transverse plane. So again, any kind of twisting motion. An exercise to strengthen your spiral line would be a Russian twist exercise. So this, going across your body. And an exercise to stretch your spiral line would be, I call them sundials. I'm not sure what they're actually called, but it looks something like this. Hold your legs up, arms out, knees would go to one side of the body, stretching in that twisting motion of the transverse plane, and with your head going to the other side. So there's two other lines I want to talk about, and they are this front functional line and the back functional line. And these come more into play when you're in a physical activity or sports where you're in different shapes, physically demanding. Whereas the four myofascial lines concerned with upright, erect posture, helping keeping you balanced, upright. The first line I'll talk about is the back functional line. And the back functional line, it starts at the humerus, where your lat inserts, runs down your lat, goes across the back in an X motion, and it goes down the sacrum, across the gluteus maximus, down the shaft of the femur, down your vastus lateralis, so the outside head of your quad group, and then it goes inserts into the patella, down your subpatellar tendon, and it stops at the top of the tuberosity of the tibia. So a stretch to stretch out your back functional line. It's a goofy looking stretch, but you have to do this to get both the muscles of your lower body and the muscles of your upper body. So, like I said, it's running an X down your lat, goes down your leg. So, to stretch out your glute, you're going to have to get in this funky little pose. Feel the stretch going up here. Then you're going to take your right arm, find the wall, and really sink into it. So the second functional line is the front functional line, and this line starts at the top of the pec major, running down the middle of your chest, so down your rectus abdominis, down to your pubis, and then inserts to the opposite hip. So to stretch out your front functional line, we're going to have to do another little funky looking stretch. So, like I said, it runs down the pec, down your abdomen, cross into the opposite hip. So we have to stretch out this hip and this shoulder. So we're going to find a wall, get the scratch across the pec, and then we're going to sink into it with the opposite hip.